Holy moly. Holy end of a season and an era. This is Flight Check Season 3, Episode 22. We're back once again discussing the end of FlyQuest League of Legends in the year of our Lord, 2023. Everything good must come to a close at some point, though. And we are here to write that in memoriam moment for FlyQuest League of Legends. But to look ahead to what might be coming down the pike for FlyQuest as the off-season has truly begun. On July 31st, 2023, the FlyQuest off-season is here, and it's going to be a long one, folks. 5 months of no FlyQuest League of Legends. 3 months until the off-season basically begins. Until start getting those 6 signings. But never fear. We will be here. And we will always have FlyQuest to talk about. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes. To my left and my extra left, my constant co-hosts, Noxwar and Curly Double Q. Gentlemen, I gotta say, I don't know if you guys are listening to it. It probably will give you a really bad echo. The song that's playing as I'm speaking right now, oh, it's a bit of a banger. I'll have to share the name of it in the chat with you all later, but I will fade it out in a second. Nox, Curly, how are you guys feeling? How have your weeks been? It's been a long road of a season 13. Is it season 13? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
13.
Long season 13.
That's why everything has gone wrong.
It's true. Curly, I know you said you placed Iron in League today. I'd like to hear from you first. What do you have to tell the people today?
You're gonna set him up like that, Sandy?
The hardest part of being an ADC in low elo is not playing against the 5 players that are on the opposite side of you. It is playing against the 4 players that are supposed to be on your team.
Yes.
Because, dear Lord, they will have more impact on your failures than anyone else. Which is why I have taken my talents back to top lane and will be one-tricking set up to silver. Because, dear Lord, I can't stand it anymore. My placement matches sucked.
So what were you playing in this set of placements then? I'm curious.
Well, my first one was actually a devastating loss because I was playing Tristana and had a really good lane and was really doing a lot around the map and just, kind of jumping around, blowing up towers, blowing up people. Got deleted by Neferi once. That was a fun time. But the big problem was that 3 times, this is all it took, 3 times we let Yorick push, take a tower, push, take a tower.
Yeah.
And my team was somewhere else on the map and didn't respond, and I had to try and 1v1 him. And surprisingly enough, Yorick, who is 2 levels up from a Tristana, will out-survive the burst that I can put out. It's just a matter of fact. And so eventually we lost a very winnable match, and then the next 2 were just... They were pretty rough. I think I did... Did I do Kaisen? No, I didn't do Kaisen next. Who did I do next? I can't even remember who my second one was. But then I know that I did a Samira match, which was just absolutely rough because my support was unideal, and it was an unfair matchup against a Tristana Lux that would just consistently, ruin my day.
Right.
And then and then I had a Kane who thought he was shot calling but wasn't, and ganked me twice but only didn't actually do anything with these ganks.
Yeah.
And so and then flamed me and my lane partner for doing poorly as though he had done something.
Right.
So yeah, it was just that. But then with these set matches, that's when I decided to switch to set for my last 2 placements, and I had a pretty good time overall because, you could take a lot of damage and then just throw out a W and everything will be fine.
There you go. Excellent. I'm glad that you've got got it in mind there. Nox, how about you? What's been the what's been the word this week? How have you been feeling about life, about esports? What's been on your mind lately?
Life, lot of life plans. You know, you're in on the same page as this one, Sandy.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah. So lot of plans coming up in the future for a certain wedding that may or may not be coming up. Outside of that, planning for other weddings, one of which may or may not also be happening in this call right now, along with an additional wedding, literally the week after other said wedding. So, you know, a lot of planning for that. It's wedding season, folks. It's be prepared. Other than that, I don't know why I've been on a hyper roll fixation, dude. I've shot up the rankings. I'm at like 3,500 purple tier right now. I'm like actually debating going for hyper tier. Maybe we'll see if I actually want to spend the time to go for the last 700 points or not.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I've actually kind of lost how to play the normal mode now. I just sit there and donkey roll all day long, and I'm only 3,500 rating. It's like, okay, cool. But yeah, that's kind of been my main thing lately is a lot of life planning, wedding stuff, and then in my free time, I've been doing hyper roll, which has been very, very easy for me. But I guess some people it's not because I've been talking to other people, like, and they are struggling to get out of blue tier, and I was like, I just kind of cruise, but cool, I guess.
Right.
Do you have the Gwen chibi?
Do I have the which chibi?
The Gwen chibi.
I do not know. I was not going to spend $200 something trying to get any of those chibis. Because I think the way it works for TFT is like there's a hard cap on how many rolls that you can do for it. Yeah, and I think the maximum number of rolls is like $200 something. I think it's $200.
You're telling me you have to roll for it? You can't even just get it?
No, you cannot. So the DRX Aatrox one and the Soul Fighter Chibi Gwen one are RNG chance. So it's a maximum of 60 rolls, which equates to about $200. And so you can get it sooner than that. Like you could get it on one roll, and it costs you like literally $1. It's like cool, all right. But then there's people who just get really unlucky, and it's like, well, 60 rolls, here it is, and on the 60th roll, you're handed it because that's like the limit that you can spend on it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pure RNG whether you can get it or not.
Oh, there you go. How are you feeling about esports? Lots of things going on.
We're talking about esports tonight. I don't know about that, Sandy.
This is now the Life podcast, actually.
Yeah, esports been kind of rough lately. I was kind of down to just chat with y'all tonight, you know. Yeah. But I mean, if you really want to talk about esports, I guess we could talk about esports.
I mean, we can make it happen. Why don't we talk a little bit about the broader, like, league ecosystem at large? That might be fun to do a little bit. So, a lot of news.
LEC just had their most pointless finals ever.
Yeah, I mean, that was very interesting to me. You have G2 beats Excel in that first round and then absolutely stomps them again 3-0. Their whole... Actually, you know what? I want to ask you guys. Now that LEC has gone through all three of their splits, there was a little bit of controversy and discussion about how at the end of this, summer, Team Heretics actually turned it on. And they placed top 4 in this summer split. They finished 4th, right? But they lost to Fnatic, and basically it was between, hey, whichever team wins that best of 5 between Fnatic and Heretics, they make season finals. Even though teams like MAD, BDS, and SK did not make top 4 in the summer finals. And there's a lot of people that I think would argue out there, hey, you should, be giving these season final spots to the teams that are doing the best at the time. That has always been an argument, against championship points. No reward for doing well 6 months ago when you had 2 different players on your roster, and whatnot. So, we've seen how this goes now. Obviously, G2 is absolutely favored in these season finals, and they've been the most consistent team in Europe all year long. But how are you guys feeling about this format now? How are you guys feeling about, how it turned out for Heretics, where they, got so close, but because of how they did previously, they couldn't make it to finals. Curly, I know you're more of the EU guy at times, so maybe you can provide your input, and then Nox would love to hear from you as well.
I mean, to be fair, this is honestly the least I've paid attention to the LEC ever. So you're putting me on a spot here. But actually, I did look into that when I saw a tweet about how it was Team Heretics wasn't actually out when Fnatic beat them. It was dependent on who won between Fnatic and XL, because if XL had lost, Team Heretics still would have been able to get in. But because XL won, XL put themselves in season finals. And it's like a very strange format thing. And so it's like, it's a tough thing, because then you also have a similar story with Fnatic, who struggled their first 2 splits, but they turned it on this time, and now they have earned their spot in the season finals. But like, you literally have both sides of the argument in the in Fnatic and Team Heretics. I guess like it wasn't just that best of 5 that they were playing for, but it's sad. I think the biggest downside of it is Jankos is just a player that's always been in kind of these like major playoff spots, especially while he was with G2. And this is something like, this is not the result that this player deserves. Team aside, like this, it's weird to have Jankos just out early and that he's not going to be on the international stage. Like,
yeah, no, it is definitely weird. It's kind of like how, in the same way, Perks as well. Not seeing him at Worlds is a strange thing. Nox, what's your take on how this format has worked out for LEC now that we've seen it basically go all the way through?
I've never truly been a fan of championship points, because then you get like wonky stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get Heretics who's surging at the end of the season, and then you get a Mad Lions who's just looking kind of like they're hanging in there barely. Like they finished 7th, and then because they're 7th, but because they've done so well in the previous splits, they get rewarded with 2nd seed. Like that's just kind of gross to me, in my opinion. I don't really like stuff that takes into congruence of like the entire year, because it's a very, very long year, right? So, yeah, like I don't really like it at all personally. Even if you were to like to extend the what's it called, their championship tournament, whatever it's called, to like 8 teams, which I think they should have done anyway in the first place, to be honest.
Their season finals.
Yeah, their season finals. It still wouldn't even include Heretics, because they just did that bad in winter and spring. But like, it's very clear that currently, team strength wise, Heretics is now the 4th best team in the LEC, and they're ranked 9th because they just did so bad in winter and spring, even though those almost completely separate rosters, right?
Oh my goodness!
So like, it's almost similar to what was it, 2021 and North American LCS, where it was like the games carried over from spring into summer, and it didn't really change anything. But I think one team kind of got screwed over in seeding because they had a really, really bad spring, it was the other way. It was Dignitas, because they had a really, really good spring, and then they had a bad summer, but they got rewarded with a higher seed,
right?
Because they did so good in spring, and stuff like that is just kind of annoying to me. And I wish they'd get rid of championship points and like stuff carrying over from a separate split. Like, it's a whole new tournament. Just start from a clean slate.
Yeah. No,
I need to correct my information. The scenario wasn't with Team Heretics; it was Team Koi. So if XL had lost, Koi would have been 20 points above them and gotten in. So.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this, you have XL who is 5 points, 150 points.
Right.
Like, literally swing in the only way they could have swung harder is if they had managed to beat G2.
Yeah, actually, I mean, basically, Fnatic and Heretics needed to do exceedingly well in order to make it, which, to some extent, is how the system is supposed to function, where, like, if you're gonna be that team making it to Worlds, you have to absolutely be crushing it at the end. And like they're gonna find out, like even G2 right now. Like let's say, hey, they did well in winter, they did well in spring. Let's say they had collapsed in summer, right? Right now, the way their format works, there is no team locked into Worlds right now from Europe. G2 could lose 2 best-of-5s and not make it to Worlds. Now, they only have to win 1 best-of-5 to make it to Worlds. But, like, that is still a very realistic scenario. So, like, there's still that, I don't know what you would call it, that allowance for, hey, you got in, but, you know, you can still just drop immediately. Which, to be fair, are we going to see that from a team like MAD, a team like BDS? Who knows? It's yet to be seen. But I think, you know, I think every format has its pros and has its cons. I'll be interested to see if they stick with this, if they refine it in any way. I think there's definitely some things that people did not like, you know, like having each splits finals played in the LEC studio. That was kind of lame. I know, like you had three finals that were supposed to be like, this is split defining, and we're just playing it in the same studio that you've played all your regular season games in. You know, and even now, like these season finals are going to be played in that same studio up until they get to finals weekend. Like it's such a feels bad, you know. That like that this happened. So anyway, all right, that's LEC. Immortals.
You're telling me the whole season finals?
Not the whole season finals. Like they're actually having a finals weekend, but like it's, you know, the final couple matches like normal, right?
Yeah.
Immortals dropped a lot of people. They dropped
three coaches and Kenvi, if I recall correctly.
Yes, 3 coaches, all their coaches really. Strategic coach Xmithy, Davos systems coach, and Draxier positional coach. And then yes, Kenvi as well. I'm sure there is Solo is gone as well, I think.
No, yes. Well, Solo was automatically kicked due to his contract stating the moment Immortals was eliminated from Summer, he was automatically off the team. He was gone like 2 days after their last match.
Yeah, basically.
He's literally the mercenary of the LCS. They're like, we're going to keep you here until we're done, and then you're gone.
A lot of conversation around, should Riot kick Immortals?
Yes.
You know, and based off of the previously known rules for LCS teams, I mean, here's what Immortals has done in just the last 4 splits. 10th, 9th, 9th, and 10th. They got 2 7ths in 2021 in both spring and summer. And before that, LCS 2020 summer, they finished 10th.
A lot of 10th places.
That is a lot of mediocrity.
Not even mediocre. That is subpar.
Yeah. As the kids would say, pretty mid. Now,
pretty mid.
we don't know where, like, what the rules are right now, what the agreements or anything state. But you have to think that, you know, Riot has to be aware of this. Like, Nox, do you feel like they have any recourse here to at least be like, hey, you have to show more, like, more interest in this? Because it's like, okay, sure, they don't have the budget. There's other teams that are spending less than them and doing better. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like Dignitas actually did much better this summer split, right? Than last split. CLG/NRG also had a budget roster. They look like a potentially top 4 team. Like, you can have a budget roster and do that, like, you know, top 6 placement. Immortals can't even get there. How much longer are we going to have to watch this org absolutely give no cares? in regards to the LCS?
So it's a bit complicated, right? So let's say Riot does want to get rid of Immortals, right? They say, you know what, you have not been a good partner for the league. You have not done a good job of trying to promote competitive teams, and you've not done a good job of actually being anything noteworthy in terms of like self-promotion in the space, because all your social media is like below 10 likes every single Twitter post, right? So all these are like actually really good reasons for Riot to go to Immortals and say, hey, we don't want you in the league anymore. The problem with that is that, like, due to a lot of legality stuff that's going on in the background of like, hey, these slots are worth like $20 million, at least at a certain point they're worth $20 million. And basically no one's buying these slots for $20 million.
Yeah.
And so you get this kind of awkward spot of like, okay, well, no one's going to be willing to buy this spot from Immortals for $20 million. And Riot doesn't want to shell out the $20 million to buy it back from Immortals either. So it just kind of comes down to this awkward stalemate of like, I want you gone, but no one wants the slot. And we don't want to give you the money to buy back the slot ourselves. And so you're just kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I actually do think Riot's probably on the side of like, yeah, we should probably kick Immortals, but due to like financial reasons, like you're not going to be able to, which kind of rough, let's be honest.
Yeah,
they're only going to continue to harm the league, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe Riot works out a deal where it's like, hey, we do want you gone. We'll buy back a portion of it. And then maybe if another org wants to come in and buy all the other portion of it, we'll kind of work out a little deal here and there. So that way it's a little cheaper for that new org coming in. And we'll just kind of take a little bit of the loss. And maybe then we'll get you out of here because you're just not doing anything. I mean, that's a possibility, but that sounds like a lot of work. And it may just be better in the long run. I shouldn't say better in the long run. I should say easier in the long run for Riot just to continue to let Immortals do their thing.
Right.
I mean, I think the alternative is they kind of have to face the music that the spot isn't worth $20 million. They like
not
the
anymore.
league right now. Like, as much as I love the LCS and all that stuff, in terms of like a league and an entertainment industry and all that stuff, no spot is worth $20 million. There's a lot of turnaround that we need to see. So that I think that Riot would just have to like take the bullet, cut it, I don't know, maybe in half. And I think the co-paying part of it would be a good call. We'll buy out a portion back from Immortals, so that it's a lower cost for whoever wants to enter the league. But like the slot, it's not worth 20 million.
Right.
And so whatever deal there is, like, they're probably going to have to cut their losses if they want some actual competition and presence and entertainment, because Immortals really isn't cutting it, and it is more harmful to the league, even with the awkward financial situation.
Right.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's talk to Ryan Reynolds. He bought what division football team over in the UK?
Division 5, I think. It was like the lowest division you could have.
Yeah, not even Football League 2. It's like the National League, I believe it's called.
And how many leagues has he promoted them?
Just one.
Just one, but like still, it's like.
But getting into the here, let me double check that I'm saying the right thing.
No, getting into the higher division is actually really good because you actually start getting paid from the league itself. Right. It's not just from your own personal funds.
Yeah, when you're
so if Ryan Reynolds can turn a D5 team
basically
into a team that makes money, get him in the LCS somehow.
Yeah. They so this past season was their 15th consecutive season in the National League, so that's like their Division 5, so that's, it's not amateur by any sense to me. It's like they're professional teams, but it's like mildly close to semi-pro a little bit. Getting into Football League 2, getting into those top 4, like it's still like the 4th division of English football. You still actually like can sometimes get like TV money and basically you have a lot more recourse to be able to do things with your team if the investment is there from the owners. I think it'll actually be very fascinating to see if Wrexham continues to promote their way through that. They're literally doing, like, in so many ways, it's literally Football Manager. Like, some kind of rags to riches, take the club from from absolute bottom tier football to top tier. So it's really exciting. I think my take on the Immortal situation is, at the very least, I feel like Riot. I would hope Riot issues them some kind of warning. If it's public, great. If it's not, whatever. But some kind of hey, you need to show that you're actually invested in this scene, that you're actually caring about this. Because here's the thing, we're getting reports now that players are actively saying no to Immortals because they know how much it's going to absolutely ruin their careers. So if players are saying no, they're not going to field a good team. So maybe it's time for just a wholesale change in either organization or that organization's mentality. One of the two. Something needs to happen.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a vicious cycle that doesn't end, because you're a bad org, you can only get bad players that are looking for a desperate job, and because you have bad players playing on your team, you continue to look worse and worse, and so that way you can only continue to get bad players, and it's just hard cycle to get out of unless you get a sudden increase of funds where it's you just have to bribe good players, hey, come take this money. I feel like that's the only way you can truly get out of it.
Yeah, no, I totally. All right. Any other news before we move on to the FlyQuest business at hand?
Just the casual FlyQuest business.
Yeah, that's why we saved it for 40 minutes into the episode.
Absolutely. It's not 45. We started late. We started 8:15.
All right. Fair enough. 30 minutes in.
Yeah, half an hour in. All right. Let's head on over to it. We got to address it. FlyQuest Challengers drops tonight to Evil Geniuses Challengers in a 3-1 loss. Wrapping up their season in 4th place. I managed to watch game 1. I know Knox, Curly, between the two of you guys watched most of the rest of that best of 5. To you guys, where do you think the fundamental issues were tonight in that series? What was holding us back?
Honestly, it was kind of just a variety of things. I think the worst offender, because I think honestly it should have gone to a game 5. The worst offender for me was Yuji's Engage in game 2. We went from basically being about 1K up to a 6,000 gold down, so 7K total gold swing. All while we had Mountain Soul already at 25 minutes, and we were very, very quickly starting to work our way down their side of the map, and it just we just one of the hardest throws I have ever seen. I was heartbroken seeing it. And then everything else, game 1 was kind of a bit of a smart draft from EG, and then I think game 4 was just EG playing well, and then game 3 was us playing well along with Masu absolutely popping off, right? So I think really it should have just gone to a game 5. I think both of these teams are very, very close in terms of skill level and how they're playing and performing right now. It was that one play in game 2 that just really sealed the deal, which sucks.
And Evil Geniuses Challengers were not really the best team in the NACL scene this summer, really. I don't think they finished 7th.
Yeah, they finished 7th, and so I will say a majority of the split,
and we had 2-0 them in round 1.
Yeah, and then they 0-2'd us in the second round, to be fair. So to give some clarification and context.
Oh, I meant in playoffs, they 2-0'd us in round 1. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that too. So EG's original roster was Soul, Shaden, Ryoma, King, and Smoothie. Right, that was the original roster. And then about right after the halfway point of the season, or right after the first round robin, EG made a change. They dropped Soul. Soul retired, and they brought in Surdy, who was originally on Evil Genius's Prodigies, right? And then I forget if he was actually doing anything in spring or not, but either way, so Surdy joins the team, and they immediately start looking better, right? And then next thing you know is EG suddenly doing the two-man jungle thing in LCS, and they swap Armeo out for Shaden, so Shaden gets promoted. Armeo comes down, and depending on what your context or what you think of like those two junglers, Armeo is a very good jungler, right? And so that busts the team even more. So you have Surdy, who is a positive, upgrade. That's what I was looking for. Surdy, who's an upgrade. You have Armeo, who, in my opinion, is a better jungler than Shaden, but maybe Shaden just fits the LCS team better. I don't know, but I think Armeo is the better jungler. So, in my opinion, that was a promotion. And so, those two things alone, just EG hit it, man, and they've been going hard ever since. And so, yeah, we beat them 2-0 in the first in the quarterfinals in that first round or round one. But you see that 2-0, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure it was fine. But like, no, both of those games were really, really close. Like, EG was like a really, really good team, and I was like, and immediately at the end of the regular season, I was nervous. It was like, oh man, I don't want to play EG first round. That's gonna suck. And I was like sighing a huge breath of relief at the very end when we did beat them 2-0. I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to deal with them anymore. And then, I mean, we can kind of go over the rest later, but I was glad that we got rid of them in the first half. And then lo and behold, they made that lower bracket run and we ran into them again, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Curly, how about you? What's your general sentiment on things?
I'm going to concur with Nox on that. Armeo is an upgrade jungle-wise. I do think he is better than Shaden. I think it was just whatever the case was towards the end of this season with EG, that maybe the swap was necessary and maybe Shaden just needed, that chance and might fit better for what's going on with the team right now. But baseline, Armeo is just, he's always been at the top of the NACL/Academy scene, and then has consistently had his chances in the LCS. So he's well seasoned. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
And so then, and also Surdy. Oh my goodness, Surdy is he's a pretty good top laner. He was a big thorn in our side in the game too, and like just his Jax was just
yeah, very, very
unstoppable at some moments. Yep.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, how were you guys feeling about the drafting situation? I know it felt like some of the sentiment I was reading was that EG's Game 2 draft was not it, and then and then we also had what was our Game 1 draft? I'm trying to remember.
Game 1 draft.
Oh, it was Cassante Viego, Azir, Kaisa, Leona.
Yeah. Because I remember EG's draft because that was the one that was the game they drafted Nocturne Nico.
Yeah,
and it was just so hard to play into because Nocturne ults and you're blind, right? And so then suddenly it's like, okay, where's the Nico? And then surprise, and you're dead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we went with the Yasuo Diana in Game 2. Nox, what were your thoughts on that one? I know we've pulled that out before, but we have not. Diana has not really been played for a while after getting some adjustments. So I wasn't too sure how I felt about going for this combo. Felt like you really needed. It was basically saying, hey, we just need to set up the right combo and the right fight, which is a risky maneuver at times. It doesn't necessarily always pay off.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the riskier comps to play, right? I will say, and I said this in our Discord too, Eugene Spirax were actually one of the best Yasuo Diana duos in the entirety of the NACL. And debatably, because I don't really know a lot of LCS players who were playing that duo, but debatably the LCS too. Like, they were one of the best in the region at that particular mid-jungle duo.
Mm.
And so when I saw it picked, I was like, okay, normally this would be like, oh man, this is a bit int, but knowing it's them, I feel confident that they can pull it off, right? And they were for the most part. They had that massive 3-man combo up in the top lane that really got them in the game, and they had a lot of tempo going in their favor. And it really wasn't until I don't know what it was, but Yuji got antsy, man. That engage he had just south of the tier 1 mid tower for EG, he just went in, and Spirax and the rest of the team were just not ready. They were all backing away, and I guess Yuji saw an angle where he could pick 2, and he technically did pick 2. He got 2, but no one else was there to follow up immediately. And then they got 5-0 aced, and then EGC got Baron and Elder Drake both at the exact same time in under 30 seconds, and then proceeded to just run it down in under 4 minutes, and it was done. That's just all that it was. And so I stand by the draft. I think it was fine. I think it was just one really, really gigabad decision from Yuji that just ended that whole game. And you know what? Sometimes that happens, but it just, why did it have to happen in playoffs, man? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, tough one. Curly, what were your thoughts on drafts and whatnot?
I mean, I thought they were okay. Let me pull them up there.
Yeah, most of our draft, like just while Curly's looking, like most of our drafts were not egregious at all in any way, shape, or form. I think EG had a smart one game 1, and then most of them were pretty even throughout the rest of the series, I would say. And
Okay.
Curly, maybe you can follow up on that.
Yeah, let's look at the VOD style for LCS challengers. It does not have today's game. Why does it not have today's game? That's pretty weird.
On YouTube, it takes a while for them to upload to YouTube.
Yeah, and then let's see, is it at least up here? All right, I do not have the data for this stuff. It is simply not here. Wait, hold on. Summer playoffs. Let's try it one more time. I lied. I was looking in the wrong spot. All right, let's see.
Check this link, Curly. I got you.
Bam! What a great man. Ooh, that is a weird format. I got it. Okay. All right, yeah. So looking at these, I do think our first draft is pretty decent. The one I saw with the Jax, Lilia, Tristana, all that against us into the Renekton. I think EG's draft in the second one, like I agree when people say it's not as good, but then it's one of those ones where it's like the second things go right for them, they can do a lot. Like there's just they can create a lot of chaos just with like maybe a Lilia sleep with the Rel bringing everyone in, and then a Jack stun, and then Kai'Sa and Tristana can both like jump in and out of fights a lot, so it can make things really hard for us. In the third one, okay, I always am a big fan of Poppy personally, so you've got me there. And I'm guessing, Nox, I want your input. How well did UG pilot the Poppy?
Well enough. He was very aggressive in the early game, but I mean, at the end of the day, he was just team play itself was not really.
Team play itself was not there. Okay.
Well, I mean, sorry, team play was there. Team play was there.
Yeah,
that was the
okay.
number one.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then I see in the last draft we kind of let EG get something similar to Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
They just switch out the Ivern and the Rakan, and so it's just like, whereas we're trying something that looks completely new. So it might be that I don't think our drafts are bad. I think ultimately it was just down to how the players played.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's a tough end of the season. Obviously, we were really hoping for a top 3, top 2 finish from this group of 5. I think what I'm excited for next, looking ahead, is where will these guys land. Masu, obviously, Papa Smithy has talked about how he is going to be in LCS next year.
Absolutely.
I think most likely will happen. We'll see if that's going to be with FlyQuest or with another team. Obviously, we'll get to off-season roster speculation eventually.
Around November, probably.
Yeah, around late October, November. But, definitely can see that happening. UG, Spirax, we'll see what's going on there. Winsome, I feel like, has made a good name for himself yet again. Might be time for a redux on him. Faisal, I think, might still have some stuff to work on. I'm not too qualified, I think, to talk about Faisal.
Yeah. But Faisal definitely needs some more work before he tries to go to LCS for sure. But I'm still glad we have him.
I am absolutely glad, and I hope he sticks around and is on the team, like the Challengers team again next year. But I'll be interested to see where everything breaks down. I'll be interested to see where the Challenger scene winds up in the next year or so. And I will absolutely be interested to see who Disguised will be playing in finals. I think it's actually a great commentary that Disguised made it to LAN finals. And I think it'll be really cool to see how they perform on that stage. I think it's a great statement that influencer ran orgs can actually compete and probably, have something really good to bring to the table for LCS in the future. All right.
Yep.
Final thoughts on FlyC before we touch on some other stuff going around.
I've seen people saying that this is way too early of a dropout and so on and so forth. The usual spiel and how it kind of sucks, and it does suck. I would like to bear in mind that while this NACL is vastly different from what it was in the past, it's no longer Proving Grounds, it's no longer Academy. The debate on whether it's more development based or actually more competitive based is still up in the air, I would say. But at the end of the day, these Challengers teams are still secondary teams to the main LCS ones, right? And so therefore, those teams are development. And so with that in mind, I think we actually still had a very, very good year. I think Yuji had a great development year. Masu was absolutely massive and has shown his talent and his worth and will more than likely make an LCS spot next year, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spirax showed lots of promise, and depending on what kind of builds end up happening next year for LCS teams, is a mid laner who should actually be looked at because he's going to be NA. He's going to be quite technically qualified as a rookie, and so he would be cheap. And so I think he's absolutely an option. And then Winsome, if you ever want to try and basically all 4 out of the 5 guys, with the exception of Faisal, and that's fine because Faisal's still developing. They all have reasons that they should be looked at for LCS teams next year, which means FlyQuest Challengers did its job of making sure these guys were developed and have a reason to be picked up by an LCS team next year. And so for that reason, I'm still immensely proud of how this team did, even if the actual end result was a little subpar.
Right. Yeah. I completely agree. I think this team should be proud of what they did. Bringing in a brand new top laner for summer, it's always going to, cause some changes in the dynamic, but I felt like they did really well and showed off a lot of really good things. And at the end of the day, for me, with Challengers, winning's nice, but what I want to see is these players popping off and performing and showing that they can perform on the LCS stage. And I feel like we've got probably 2 guys who have shown that they can do that, 2 more guys who have shown that they are very, very close to being able to do that. And for me, that's really good. And that's what you want from your development roster. So, alrighty. So we got to talk about it. Game Changers, FlyQuest Red dropped in the closed qualifier. Tied for 13th. Top 16 finish. Unfortunately, they beat QOR GC and then dropped to Disguised. Man, Disguised really just taken off in the esports space.
Yeah,
honestly,
Toast is kind of popping off right now.
He really is. Dropped to them 2-1. And then we beat Misfits Black 2-1, but then lost to Valaris 2-0 in lower round 3, unfortunately. And I believe I'm trying to figure out. I don't think there's another. Is there another? Oh no, there is one more series for.
Yeah, there should be a Series 3. So I guess there is one more chance for Fly to try and make it to Champions or Game Changers Champions.
They are going to have a very difficult time, though, because they're sitting tied for 6th at 50 points. And Version 1 and Shopify Rebellion both sitting in the top 2 spots. V1 way ahead of everybody. They have won both series, actually. So they are doing fantastic for themselves. Complexity is up there as well with 90 points. So basically, FlyQuest Red, they need to win. They need to win Series 3, and then they need to hope that some of these other teams just absolutely fail along the way. That's really their only hope. So I'm not sure. Series 3 is supposed to be in September sometime. I don't think we have a specific start date. I don't know if that's been announced yet.
It has not.
Well, at least the open qualifier. Yeah, we don't know when that's going to be, but it will be in September. So we'll be on the watch out for that. They've not done any small tournaments or anything since then, unfortunately. But like, this team has the talent to make it. We know that. They have the talent to do well, to place top 4, but I think they would have needed to do a couple more. I think they got 4th in the first one, which would have given them the 40 points. I think realistically would have needed to do another top 4 finish to be in a really good position to try to push for making it to the final Valorant Game Changers. Only 2 North American teams make it.
Yeah, there's only 8 teams in total. It is very, very competitive.
Very competitive. The nice thing, here's the really cool thing that is a great commentary, in my opinion. There are a lot of teams that show up.
A lot of teams.
Like, you look at this open qualifier, you have Group L, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. That's 12. 12 groups. 4 teams in each group. That's 48 teams showed up to the open qualifier. And scrolling through, I am not seeing any FFs in here. So, like, to me, that is a really good sign. Not only the 48 teams in the open qualifier, then you had all the... you had another, I think, like 16 teams or so who were already qualified in to the... actually, hang on, this is the fuller bracket. But anyway, it doesn't matter how many teams there were. There were a lot of teams. There's clearly a huge scene in the Game Changers community, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. So that is huge. On the CSGO front, some great news. FlyQuest Red in CSGO won a quick little cash cup. Only 4 teams in it, but they 2-0'd Tatsugeki and then 2-0'd Fluffy Aimers White, which is always great to see them taking home $750 for themselves in this cup.
Making bank?
Making bank. Quick note of interest. We had previously discussed how they did well enough in ESEA Season 45 Main Division, that top 8 finish, helping them go up to Season 46 Advanced in ESEA. ESEA is now partnering with Faceit in order to continue on their seasonal tournaments. So that will be off of the ESEA website, I believe, and they will be partnering with Faceit in the future. So be sure to pay attention to Faceit for all your FlyQuest Red CSGO needs. I do believe that stuff, the ESEA stuff, is starting in August. So actually pretty soon. Yeah, it'll be... I'm not sure exactly when, because I don't think the standings or the brackets or anything are out for NA Advanced just yet. But definitely going to be really huge for them to be playing in Advanced. I'm hoping that, obviously, I want them to do well and make it up to, to play in like the promo relegations for the Challenger League. Honestly, I would be very satisfied if they just maintained status in Advanced as well. Would not want to see them drop back to main, obviously. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for from them. Thoughts from you guys? I know I've been talking a lot about FlyQuest Red in the last 10 minutes.
I mean, the big thing for me is I'm really looking forward to this Game Changers Series 3.
Yeah.
Especially, because FlyQuest Red got a lot of ground to cover to get to that top 2. We're 60 points behind. But, if we play well enough, we got time to prepare. And, the nice thing is we're in a much better spot than a lot of the other teams, because I'm looking at the full list. There's a good amount of teams that are just at, 10 points.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's statistically possible for them to get to the qualifying spots. I'm not exactly sure how the points work in these these series.
It is not. You get 80 points for winning, so...
So, yeah, it is statistically impossible for most of these teams, or not most, about...
Yeah, a lot of the teams.
Little less than half of the teams to make it. So that's pretty cool. But I would love to see some FlyQuest on the international stage this year.
No, absolutely.
Regardless.
Like some, please, por favor. any just a crumb.
A crumb of success in competition.
I will shell out to make money to go to an international Game Changers event if FlyQuest Red is there. That being said, if anyone wants my Venmo to give me said money, that would be great.
There you go. That would be pretty good. All right, final thing of the day. I never updated the topic. I apologize. I should have done that. But we'll get into the final thoughts of the day. Get on my level 2023. Interesting one here for sure. For those who know, Kadoran with a nice top 8, finishing with the tie for 7th place. Unfortunately, his counterpart, Jmook, with a very surprising drop very early on in the tournament. As I frantically pull up, there it is. There's the bracket. An early drop in pools. Did not even make top 32, unfortunately, where he won a few matches, 3-0'd, and then he gets 3-0'd by Morse Code 762, and then 3-0'd again by Skurzo. So he ends up going 4-2, not even making it out of basically the top 128. Area, unfortunately, very uncharacteristic loss for him. Clearly, I know he's going to bounce back. Obviously, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. But definitely surprising loss for sure. I mean, how are you guys? I'm pulling up his, trying to find his Twitter, because I know he tweeted. Yeah. So he said, not sure where my head is at, but no excuses. GG's to all my opponents. Now let's go, Kadoran. And then, had some, a couple pictures and whatnot. But, definitely, definitely a tough one.
So sometimes you just have a bad day.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, the nice thing about Melee is that there's enough of these tournaments that you have a bad tournament, hey, you got another one coming up in a couple weeks. Just go again.
Yeah. And he just signed up for Shine 2023, which is coming up real soon, I believe. Curly, how would you approach bouncing back from a tough 33rd if you were in Jmook's shoes?
If I were in Jmook's shoes, where I know I'm a good player, I would just shake it off and be like, I know I didn't play my best, and I wouldn't dwell on it because I think that would be a lot more of a setback, because it's an outlier to his performance. He's consistently been in top 8s like ever since we signed him. He's won multiple tournaments. He's gone up against HBox and like held his own. Like he is that guy. This is just a rare L, and I don't think it's something that he should dwell on too much.
Yeah,
that's really what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, he literally a couple weeks ago took second place at FET 3 by the Sea. I didn't even know he was in this tournament, if I'm being honest. Yeah, but literally takes second place in that one. He literally only lost to Zane. He even beat Zane in the tournament at one point. So like, he's still very good. He also, for what it's worth, still got second place in doubles at Get On My Level. So, flukes happen. Fluke losses occur, and I know he will bounce back. Nox, how about you? How would you be? What would your approach to bouncing back be if you were in Jmook's shoes?
Literally, don't even worry about it. Do not sweat it. It's fine. You had one bad tournament. Clearly, you're still on top of your game for taking second in doubles, right? Like you still got it. It was like I said, it was an off day. If it starts happening over and over again, then maybe we need to have a little bit of a talk, figure out what's going on. But one tournament is fine. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it. You're still really freaking good at this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And he'll be back at Shine 2023 real soon. Unfortunately, I was hoping he was going to come to Super Smash Con, which is actually going to be in my neck of the woods. But you know who will be there, and who got a top 8 at Get On My Level, was Kodorin. Absolutely fantastic stuff from him this weekend. So he got a 3-1 over Laud. Drops 3-0 to Zane in upper bracket, but then bounces back. Takes down Zuppy in 3-1 to make it to top 8. And then unfortunately did drop to Moki in losers round 1 in a 3-1. But great to see him step up in place of Jmook and roll his way to that top 8. Like I said, Kodorin going to be at Super Smash Con in 2 weeks, and then both him and Jmook at Shine 2023 in late August. Super Smash Con, huge event, going to be fantastic, and Shine 23 also a huge event. So we'll be very excited to see how both those guys do there. Ultimately, it's a primo time for a bounce back, and looking forward to seeing that. Alrighty, that's all the news. That's all the updates. What do you guys got? Anything that I have neglected to bring up? Anything we should be talking about before we wrap up the evening?
I think a cool little addition is the fact that FlyQuest has acquired Basil as a streamer.
Yeah, Basil Leaf is a huge pickup.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Curly Nox, either one of you got any thoughts on that one?
I think you probably know more about her than I do, Curly. I just know that she's a streamer and that she does art.
I mean, really, the basic thing is she's got a really good personality. Like, you see those simple cats drawn all over Twitter, and you know that is Basil Leaf. And I think it's just a personality that I think fits really well with our brand. And I think will like bring a good community to FlyQuest, because she's just like wholesome, the cute style. Good pickup. It's fun.
There you go.
And then also, if you're getting that shirt, I've heard that she is drawing cats if you show her your receipt. So get the shirt, get a cat drawn.
Get your
Free
shirt
cats.
and get a free cat. You know, what's not?
My
love?
girlfriend may or may not have gotten me.
There you
Said, "Look at how good this shirt is."
go. Get a.
And she was like, "What size might you be?" And I was like, "Here you go."
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, in that case, I think that is just about everything for us today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another, honestly, in my opinion, pretty solid episode of Flight Check. Not a lot in terms
Very well rounded.
FlyQuest esports coming up anytime soon. If you are patient and you can wait a little bit, like I said, Kadoran at Super Smash Con, August 10th through 13th. Be sure to cheer him on then. We will look for and pay attention to when ESEA Advanced starts, so you can cheer on FlyQuest Red. Support the girls in their CSGO experience. But until then, that is all we've got for FlyQuest for the near-term future. More Smash, though, to come in August and September from both Jmook and Kadoran, as well as, like we said, FlyQuest Red returning in Valorant, in Game Changers in September, and more CSGO from the other FlyQuest Red, all throughout all of August and hopefully into September. So with that, you can catch the show on Twitter, where we will be thinking about all our esports content all the time. I'm sorry, it's not Twitter anymore. You can see the show on X.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. No!
And you can
No!
read all our zeets.
Get it out of here.
All our
Get
zeets
it out of here.
At any given time, you can read a solid zeet from at Flight Check Crew. You can read my zeets at SantosDB. You can read Nox's zeets at NoxWar with 2 R's. And you can read Curly's zeets at Curly_QQ_.
I don't zeet. I tweet. I only tweet. Don't you dare.
Wait, what website is that, Curly? I don't know what website that is.
It's on Twitter.com. You can still go to Twitter.com and it'll bring you to the same place. We all know what it is.
X.com/FlightCheckCrew. All right, make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. If you missed any part of this episode, guess what? You're in luck. VOD's going to be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. Isn't that fantastic? Also here on Twitch, if you prefer watching on Twitch. I don't know why you would. YouTube, much better viewing experience. You never heard me say that, Twitch. If you want to shell out big sponsorships to us, feel free. We're here. We're available. If you're watching that VOD and would like to catch the show live, we broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Nox, any final notes, shoutouts, or plugs before we wrap up?
You know what? Shout out to Vita. He's sleeping right here next to me, and he's a very cute-looking cat. So, we'll highlight it. We'll highlight him a little bit as you guys are giving out your shout-outs.
Oh, there he is. Look at him go.
Nice.
Look at him be a cat. Curly, how about you? Any shout-outs, notes, or plugs?
I'm gonna shout out the GF for getting me the Basil Leaf shirt. I'm very excited for that to arrive in hypothetically 5 to 8 business days. And what else am I gonna shout out? Actually, so this is gonna be another random shout out. Shout out to my D&D group. Because yesterday one of them just asked me to be one of the groomsmen in their wedding and got me a really cool dice box as a groomsman gift.
There you go.
Hey, yo.
Very sick.
Yeah.
Love
yeah.
It. Awesome. Lovely. My shout out is going to be to the Washington Nationals for trading away Heimer Candelario, as they should have, and getting 2 Chicago Cubs prospects in return. Now it's time to trade Lane Thomas, Joey Meneses, and Kyle Finnegan, and get more prospects in return. Please and thank you. Continue to do the fire sale and rebuild this team. That is going to be everything from us tonight. We will be back in the future to discuss whatever is going on. We'll find some kind of topic to talk about, never you fear. But for now, we'll just say stay safe out there. Do not forget to hit the head on the nail, my friends. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.